Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Americas. Coming up in today's show. Donald Trump pleads not guilty to federal charges which accuse him of hoarding hundreds of classified documents and trying to keep them from investigators. The mayor of the Mexican border city of Tijuana decides to live in military barracks for her own safety, this after receiving death threats from drug cartels. Plus, in a rather miraculous story, 4 Colombian children survive a plane crash and are rescued alive after spending 40 days in the Amazon jungle. But first, Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to dozens of criminal counts, accusing him of mishandling some of the government's most sensitive secrets. Investigators say the former president not only endangered national security, but also refused to give classified documents back when asked to do so. Well, after making an historic first court appearance as a federal defendant, Trump told his supporters the indictment was both politically motivated and heinous.
Closing out the day with his own spin. There were no cameras allowed in the courtroom when Donald Trump became the first U.S. president to face federal charges. But Trump tried to make sure that his narrative of being a victim of a witch hunt was the final word Tuesday, with a rally for supporters in New Jersey.
Today we witnessed the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges. This is called election interference and yet another attempt to rig and steal a presidential election.
Hours earlier in Miami, Trump used the same tactics. Ever on the campaign trail, he made a surprise visit to a Cuban bakery after his arraignment, basking in the attention and serenaded on the eve of his 77th birthday. Trump drummed up support from Latino voters.
Food for everyone. Food for everyone.
The jubilant attitude was in stark contrast with Trump's behavior in a federal courthouse earlier that morning. Witnesses said Trump sat silently scowling as his lawyers entered a not guilty plea to 37 federal counts for hoarding classified documents and refusing to hand them over. Trump risks hundreds of years behind bars under the Espionage Act. The pretrial proceedings, though, along with another case in New York on hush money charges, they could drag on for months and possibly years. But they are smack dab in the midst of Trump's campaign and quest for re-election in 2024. The charges are damning, but they also give him ample limelight to push his view that he's the victim of political persecution.
Well, let's get some analysis on this indictment against Donald Trump. I'm joined here in the studio by France 24's Shirli Sitbon. Shirli, good to have you with us. We use the word, or we hear the word historic quite a lot. This time, though, it really is the case. Never before has a former US president faced such charges.
Yes, and apparently he sees it differently. The allegations are damning, these charges. Donald Trump is accused of having in his home, having taken sensitive information that may endanger even U.S. security, information about nuclear capabilities of the United States, also a Pentagon attack plans, a Pentagon a classified map, things like that. He not only had them, which he admits, but he also showed them to people, showed them to visitors. And he also, he defied the Justice Department when he was asked to bring these documents back, to give them back. And he also lied about some information. He gave false information about the documents he had. But still, we can see him talking. We heard him talking and explaining his position, and we can see some tweets he had in the recent hours on his social media, the Truth media, and you can see them. Well, he's talking about political persecution. He says that the ones who are corrupt and who have done everything wrong are the Democrats, that he himself had absolutely the right to take those documents and those tweets. In those tweets, he said, a president can declassify documents, so I declassified them and I have the right to have them. So this is what he says, and he says it's the Democrats, it's U.S. President Joe Biden, it's Hillary Clinton who should be in court and not him.
Well, Donald Trump, Shirley, is a figure that has long since divided Republicans, we can say. I mean, when it comes to this latest indictment, what are we hearing from the Republican Party?
Yes, they have been divided, but they know that many voters feel very close to Donald Trump, feel very passionate. They think that something here is at play, that the Democrats are using this to steal yet another election. So they think that there's some kind of battle that is starting now. So even though many of them may not be backing the former president taking classified documents home after he's gone from office, well, they think that something bigger is going on here and the charges against him are being downplayed. So yes, among the leaders, we've heard many people saying this is a bad time, a dark period. Yeah, Tuesday was a dark day, but for different reasons. Some of them, for example, the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, he says there's been a grave injustice against Donald Trump. And others, though, are quieter. Ones who say this may not be very good for the GOP brand, and they think that the party should be more cautious. They haven't talked much, and they want to move past the Trump era and build the next part of the party's future. And they say, well, maybe, this, for example, Mitch McConnell and also the Senate GOP whip, John Thune, they're saying that maybe we should think further. And also you can hear some people clearly criticizing Donald Trump, saying that the charges brought against him are very serious. And for example, Senator Mitt Romney, although he says that, of course, Donald Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence and he should be able to defend himself.
Now, Shirley, when it comes to Republican voters, some of them view this differently, the indictment, the scandals that sometimes surround Donald Trump. Some of them are almost drawn close to him off the back of this indictment.
Yes, they feel that something greater is being played. And yes, many are even more determined to go out and vote. But they are not alone because other voters are not don't feel as passionately about Donald Trump. They're more moderate. Some people say they're more suburban. They're more to the center right rather than the hard right or to the clear right. Anyway, the party leaders say that maybe those people, well, if there's too much trouble, too much circus, well, they may not go out and vote in the next election. So there is some threat there. So Republicans are watching out for these voters, and they hope that there won't be too many more scandals ahead.
Indeed. Well, Shirley, thank you for bringing us some analysis on that indictment against Donald Trump. Thank you. Next, after receiving death threats, the mayor of the Mexican border city of Tijuana has decided to live in military barracks, this for her own safety. Montserrat Caballero announced the decision when police found 7 dead bodies stuffed in a pickup truck. Well, her government has been clamping down on the city's drug cartels just across the border from San Diego, California. France 24's Emerald Maxwell explains.
She's the mayor of one of the most dangerous cities in the world, Tijuana, on the Mexican border. Now, after receiving death threats, Montserrat Caballero says she's decided to live on an army base.
It was a suggestion of the National Guard due to the threats I've received. I don't know who the threats are from, which group or which individuals. More than about fear, it's about safety, to show that the mayor who cares for 2 million citizens is also being cared for herself.
The Mexican president said his government will track how the situation evolves to decide how long Caballero will live at the Baja California barracks. He also said the same threats have been received simultaneously by Baja California's current and former governor. Caballero said the intimidation was related to her government's work fighting drug cartels since she was elected as mayor in October 2021. Located just over the border from the city of San Diego, California, Tijuana has long been a major transit point for illicit goods into the United States. There were 1,818 killings in the city in the 12-month period ending in May, a rise of about 9%. It's the second highest murder rate in the world, one of 6 Mexican cities in the top 10. Tijuana has also become Mexico's fentanyl capital. In March, soldiers found over 1.83 million pills at a stash house.
Now, our number of the week is 40. That's precisely the number of days that 4 Colombian children spent in the Amazon jungle after surviving a plane crash that killed their mother and 2 other adults. Well, the children aged 1 to 13 survived by eating seeds, fruits and plants that they identified as edible from their upbringing in the Amazon region. Well, authorities say medical reports on the 4 siblings' health have been very satisfactory indeed. Gavin Lee reports.
Guardia, guardia! Fuerza, fuerza! ¿Hasta cuándo? Hasta siempre!
On Colombian public TV, rescue tales from the jungle recounted by the search party, members of the indigenous Watotos, who were key to the search alongside special forces. It's amongst this community of hunters and foragers where the children lived in rural Colombia. They're now seen as national heroes for what they did.
Levanté mi cabeza, claro, pues estaba cerca.
And saw that I was near the eldest child, Leslie, who was holding a baby girl in her arms and was holding hands with her younger sister, too. I said to her, "We are family. We've been sent by your father, your grandmother, and your uncles."
It was 40 days of searching that led the 200 rescuers and 120 soldiers to the siblings' makeshift camp. The children's grandfather has spoken of the intelligence of 13-year-old Leslie to keep them alive, picking fruit and seeds in the rainforest and using hairbands to tie branches together as shelter.
The jungle is Mother Nature. There are mysterious things going on in there. The children weren't afraid of the jungle, but they were afraid of people. We should learn a lesson from that.
Since last Friday, the children have been recovering here at a military hospital outside the capital. Medical staff have told reporters the elder children are already speaking, wanting to eat rice pudding and asking when they can go home. They're receiving close psychological support after the death of their mother, who survived for 4 days after the crash. Social services are also working out where their home will be, with some family members accusing the children's father of abuse, claims he denies.
We have a rights restoration process for each of them. That is to say that we have 4 active procedures. The process is led by the family mediator assigned to the file.
Meanwhile, so-called Operation Hope continues for a Belgian shepherd rescue dog called Wilson, who disappeared in the jungle 2 weeks ago. He's credited with finding the baby's bottle. His story now captivates a nation, and the team say they're determined to find him.
In Ecuador, an elderly woman who woke up inside a coffin at her own funeral is being treated at the same hospital that declared her dead. A video posted on Twitter shows 76-year-old Bella Montoya in her open coffin, breathing heavily, while 2 men assist her. Well, her son Gilbert Belberon has said that she was hitting the box with her left hand after the 5-hour wake. Local media reported the unusual incident with headlines celebrating the woman's resurrection. Well, that's where we leave this edition of Inside the Americas. You're up to date. We'll see you at the same time next week. Thanks for watching.